Hi guys, welcome to Algebra 1, Lesson 41. We're talking about using the distributive property when we have negative exponents. So we've already talked about the distributive property. That's how when you have something in parentheses and you have a factor outside of those parentheses, you can get rid of the parentheses by multiplying that factor by each thing inside the parentheses. Before, we've talked about numbers and variables with exponents, and that's when we started learning those exponent rules. Well, now that we've included negative exponents into our exponent rules, we're going to talk about how you use them in the distributive property. So let's begin with our first example. I have 4x negative 2 over y4 times y4x squared minus 3x4 over y negative 2. Now the directions for this example, you have to look at all of your directions. The directions say that we need to simplify by expanding and write the answer with all exponents positive. So my final answer needs to have all of the exponents as positive exponents. But we'll get to that in the very end. Let's first start by simplifying. We simplify by multiplying. So I'm going to multiply my factor here by my first term in the parentheses, y4x2. So I multiply this by my numerator. Let me show you what my new numerator will be. So I have 4 times y4x2, so that's just 4 in the beginning, x squared times, or x negative 2 times x squared. Well, when you have x negative 2 times x2, remember that means that you add your exponents. X negative 2 plus a 2. So when you add a positive and a negative number, what do? You subtract, remember? So 2 minus 2 ends up being 0. So I have x to the 0 power, which I know equals 1. So that means that my x's cancel out. So my x's canceled out when I multiplied them, so no x's, and then just y4. My denominator is y4. Okay? Yes, this can be simplified, but we're going to get to that in just a minute. Now I have minus 4x squared times 3x4. 4 times 3 is 12. X squared times x to the 4th. Add my exponents. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2. So I have x squared. Now multiply my denominators. y4 times y negative 2. 4 plus a negative 2 is 2. So I get y squared. Okay. Now I can simplify the rest of my equation. This particular one can't be simplified any further. This is as simplified as it gets. But over here I have my y4 and my y4. Well, remember when you're dividing, you subtract your exponents. So 4 minus 4 is 0. So that means that they cancel out. So my y's cancel and I'm left with just 4. So my simplified expression is 4 minus 12x squared over y squared. My answer said to make sure that all of my exponents are positive. The x squared is positive, the y squared is positive, so I'm good to go and my problem is done. All right, let's try another example. This one says to multiply and write the product with all variables in the numerator. So whether they're positive or negative, I want them all in the numerator. So I'm going to start by multiplying. X negative 2y times y over 4 x over 2. Remember, I'm starting by multiplying everything here times the numerator, not the denominator, the numerator. Because to turn this into a fraction, you put it over 1. So x squared y times y4. Well, there's no other x's, so x squared stays the same. Y times y4, this is an exponent of 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. So I have y5 over 1 times x squared is x squared. We'll simplify in a minute. Minus x4 times x squared. Negative 2 plus 4 is x squared. There's no y's, so y stays the same. then my denominator stays the same, y squared. Okay? Now I'm going to simplify. I have x negative 2 and x positive 2. But remember, in order to simplify here, I just subtract my exponents. So I have a negative 2 minus 2. What's negative 2 minus 2? Negative 4. Very good. So my x's becomes x negative 4. And then there's nothing to do with the y, so it stays the same, y 5. So that's this term. Minus, all right, the x squared stays the same because there's nothing to do to it. Here I need to subtract 1 minus 2. What's 1 minus 2? Negative 1. So this becomes y negative 1. And I have all of my terms there in my numerator. All right, I'm going to do one last example. To do this example, though, I need to erase this answer so that we have room for it. Okay. K2b over p negative 2 times ab negative 1 over k2 to start with. So I'm going to multiply my numerators. Nothing to multiply k by, so k squared stays the same. No other a's, so a stays the same. B, remember this would be a 1, so 1 plus negative 1. What's 1 plus negative 1? That's basically 1 minus 1, which is a 0. So my b canceled out, and that's it. I have no more b's right here. Then I have p negative 2, k2. So those stay the same as they are. There's nothing else to multiply them by. Minus 4, because there's no other whole numbers to multiply it by. No other k's over here, no other b's, no other p's. So the variables stay the same as I have them. K squared, b, p squared, over p negative 2, b. Now my problem directions tell me to write the product with all variables in the denominator. So that means I want to move all of my letters down below. Excuse me. So in order to do that, I'm going to start with this term. I'm going to put a 1 here in the numerator because I'm moving all of my variables down below. So the only thing that's left is going to be a 1. Remember, anytime you, anytime you have letters, if you see no numerical coefficient, you see no number in front, there's an invisible 1. So when I cancel out my letters and bring them down below, I'm not left with 0, I'm left with 1. So I know I'm going to have, a 1 here in my numerator because I'm moving everything down below. So p negative 2 stays the same. I'm not going to affect that one at all. But to move the k down below, remember, I flip it down underneath and I change the sign. So I have k positive 2 already, and then I have k negative 2 when I move this down below. I move it down, switch the sign. So now I add k2 plus a negative 2. 2 plus negative 2 is 0, so my k's just canceled out. All right, now I move a down below. A has a sign of 1, so to move it down below, I have to switch its sign to a negative 1, okay? So that's my first term. Minus, now up here with this term, I have a 4 as a numerical coefficient, so that's what's going to stay up here, is my 4. Okay? Let me change colors so it doesn't run so much into the problem or into the terms above it. Okay. Now you can see the difference a little bit better. All right, so my 4 right here is going to stay up here, so it stays in the numerator. I'm moving my k2 down below. So to move it down below, I flip the sign so it becomes a negative 2. I have p negative 2 already, and now I'm adding another p negative 2 when I move my p squared down. So negative 2 plus negative 2 is negative 4. So my P becomes P negative 4. Then I move my B down. I already have a B, and now I have a B negative 1. Because this was a positive 1, when I move it down, I change my sign. So I have a B1 and a B negative 1. What's 1 minus 1? 0, so it cancels out. My B's cancel. Just a little fun fact that will make this a little bit faster for you. When you see two numbers or two variables that are exactly the same, for example, k squared and k squared, they're exactly the same, you automatically know they're going to cancel. Just like if I were to have 4 over 4, those cancel. K squared over k squared cancels. B over b cancels. So that helps make it a little bit faster for you. But when you have a positive and a negative exponent, those don't cancel because they're not exactly the same. All right, so your final answer is 1 over p negative 2, a negative 1 minus 4 over k negative 2, p negative 4. If you feel a little bit like you can't see this very well, because I know it's kind of small on your screen, all right, make sure that you're studying the examples in your book. These are the exact examples from page 158, so you can see them a little bit better. All right, pause now and do your practice. Okay, you should be back from your practice. It said to expand and write all variables in the numerator. So you have, for letter A, z negative 3, x4, m negative 3, minus 3z negative 2, m negative 2. Letter B, you have let me try that again. B, you moved everything to the numerator. So you should have m negative 8, c negative 1, w negative 4, x negative 1 over 3. So that 3 stayed on the bottom because it's not a variable, we didn't have to move it. Minus w x negative 3, m negative 4 over 3. Okay, let me know if you need any more examples of this, if you want me to make up some practice for you so that you get a little more practice, or if you need any further explanation of this concept, I would be happy to help you. All right? Have a wonderful day, guys. This is our last algebra lesson before Christmas vacation. We do have another math that we're going to talk about next week, but this is the last algebra lesson before Christmas vacation. So, feliz Navidad!